So good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Sign Association of Canada's Leveraging Your Leadership Best Practices to Increase Your Company's Value. We are very pleased to provide you with this members-only webinar today. Like I said, the webinar will be recorded and it will be made available later this week. A few housekeeping items to mention before we get started with the webinar. You are unmuted for this webinar, so just feel free to ask a question when there is an appropriate pause, and John will answer a question for you. So without further delay, I would like to introduce our presenter, John Goldman, CEO, Brand Launcher. John?
Thank you so much. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. I'm excited. The question is, where are we faced with the biggest challenges? And this webinar is really designed for people who are responsible for growing their companies and leading. You know, most organizations are a reflection of the leader. If so goes the leader, so goes the team. And the problem with most sign companies is what everyone thinks it's the team. But the truth is the team is a reflection of the leader. When the leader's on fire, team's on fire. Leader ain't on fire and not doing a great job leading, so the team's not on fire. So we're going to talk today about how to lead and build a team that's on fire. And why is that so important? You know, one of the biggest challenges that we face is that the sign industry is plagued with a price war. And if you live by the price sword, what's going to happen? You're going to die by the price sword. And so therefore the question is, how do we set up a program and set up a company that is not price sensitive, but is profitable and not always having to be low price leader? And the other issue that we're challenged with is not only being a low price leader, but the teams are certainly not on fire. After speaking to hundreds and hundreds, literally, of sign company leaders, we have found that most of them suffer from not having a team that's on fire. And all of your money is made from your team. And so therefore the question is, how do we set a team on fire? You know, if you put a frog in a pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, what does any smart frog do? Well, it jumps out. But frogs are a little bit like people in the sign industry. Why? Because people in the sign industry will be like, okay, it's fine. It's been this way. It's always been this way. It'll be okay. Well, it ain't. It's not going to be okay. Legend has it that if you put a frog in a pot of water and slowly turn up the heat, what does a frog do? It sits and boils to death. So the question is, are you prepared and willing to change and adapt? Would you agree that we're not in the same environment that we were 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years ago? Totally different environment, major competition, prices, more pressure on prices, more increases in costs. And so the question is, how do you change and adapt? Let me give you just a little bit of background in terms of who I am and where I came from. When I was in college, I won the Harvard Business School Award for creating the world's largest student on advertising and public relations agency. And then what I did after college, so I traveled all around the world. Eventually came back, and we had a business called Goldman Promotions. We grew our business to become the 27th largest business of its type in North America, out of over 25,000. We were doing about $35 million a year. We had 175 employees, and then I sold out. So I sold out, and I started a company called Brand Launcher. But I learned a lot of things, interesting things along the way in terms of managing a profitable company. We actually also did some signage, and I wrote about it in something called The Secrets of the Watermelon. So we became famous by mailing watermelons. Imagine if you got a watermelon in the mail and you're like, hey, send me a watermelon. So not only is it mailing a watermelon, but it's a philosophy of life. How do you eat a watermelon? From the inside out. And so this strategy has been really helpful in terms of helping us grow our company and our clients. So I've been in the Wall Street Journal, and I've been in Business Week and NBC TV, and recently on Forbes, and my stuff's been translated in Japanese. And what I'm about to share with you is a very simple formula for sign companies who are essentially mad about their current environment. They're frustrated with profitability. They're frustrated with being able to attract, retain, and how do we change from mad to glad? And that's what we're going to focus on today. We're going to use this acronym of MAD, which stands for the following. And if you're taking notes, this is the time to do it. Providing meaning, appreciating, and developing. And so in terms of providing meaning, so that's the first thing we want to focus on. So the M stands for meaning, the A stands for appreciating, and the D stands for developing. If you're going in a forest, sometimes one of the most important things to know is which direction not to go in. And so I've made a lot of really egregious mistakes, but I've learned from them. And I'm going to share with you what directions not to go, and also share with you, based on our work on studies of over 200,000 employees, based on the work of mentoring and managing hundreds of clients all over the world. I currently manage a team of mentors that our company is based in Baltimore, Maryland, and we work with companies all across the globe. And so, as such, I'm going to share with you this program. And the first thing is, how do we recruit A players? So recruiting starts from the inside out. Many of the people that you're going to want to be recruiting are in the next generation. So what we're talking about now is both Generation Y as well as other people, but Y in particular. I want to share with you perhaps the most powerful word that you can ever use in the English language. You know what that word is? As a matter of fact, the first person that gets this word, I'm going to give $500 of business growth materials that we've published. Listen closely, because I'm going to use it at least 4 times. Right? Ready? So as soon as you get the word, I want you to type. Does everyone see where that? Let's do it. Let's do a test. Go ahead and in your chat button, just write the word hi or something in there, so we know that you are able to text in. So write the word hi, so that we know that you're ready to go, because you want to be able to the first one. So find your chat on your toolbar on the side and write the word hi. I need you guys to respond so I can see that you're typing in here. Let's see. Okay. Lainey, I see. Oh, they're coming through the questions section. Okay. Very good. So, Lainey, I can't see the questions section. So maybe you'll just type it if someone gets it. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. Questions. Great. Okay, we got some highs here. I'm trying to expand my window, if it'll let me. Okay, here we go. So listen very closely, because when you use this word, the word goes right underneath the radar, because you don't even use it. You don't even realize it's being used. When you use this word, it motivates people, because it's the sort of word that affects them and affects you. It's sort of word that, by the way, did I mention if you get this word, you're going to get a free gift. And did I tell you why it's going to work? Because if you get a free gift, it'll motivate you. But free gifts are not always necessarily the thing that motivates a person. Being able to have a word that connects and motivates a person to take action is most important. And I say that this word is really important because it's the sort of word that is powerful, but people don't realize it's being done. I just use that word 6 times. Does anyone get the word? Thanks. No? Eric? Anyone else? Okay. Sorry, no. Yes, no. Okay, listen one more time. I'm going to try it. The word is very powerful because when you use this word, it goes right underneath the radar, because you don't even use it, realize it's working. When you use this word, it makes a big difference because it connects people one to the other. And because it's sort of word that gets you to take action and believe in it, because it gives you a purpose and gives you a reason. There, I just used it 5 more times. Anyone get the word? You. Very good, Lainey. That is close, but no. You guys give up? That word is because. I use the word 5 times now. The word because is absolutely essential if you're going to lead a team. Let me show you what I mean. Ellen Langer, a social psychologist from Harvard, did the following. And she, what she did was she had someone walk up in line in a college and butt in line and say, "Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine?" Now I'll ask you, what percentage of people let them in? So go ahead and give me your questions. What percent of the people you think actually let them in? Okay, so 10%, 30%, 90%. Check this out. 60% of people actually let them in. But here's where it gets really interesting. The second question, excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I'm in a rush? Now, what percent let them in? What percent let them in now? So what percent let them in now? More, less? The answer is 94% of people actually let them in. But here's where it gets really crazy. The third and final experiment. Excuse me, I have 5 pages. May I use the Xerox machine because I have to make some copies? Duh. So what percent let them in now? What would you say? Okay, good. 5%? 30%? Check this out. 93% of people let them in. Do you see how powerful that is? So the word because and the concept because totally makes a difference for people. When we're leading people, I'll share, it's really important. So let me share an experiment with you. Adam Grant from Wharton School of Business did this report on this experiment that was done for recruiting motivating. There were 3 groups of people. The first group was, all 3 groups were working for a university, and they were doing a repetitive task, much like people in the sign industry are doing a repetitive task. They had to call alumni and ask them for money. They didn't, the first group, they didn't give them any additional information. All 3 groups, they told them to say the following: the school is in dire straits, and the money that you go is going to provide scholarship for very needy, very worthwhile candidates. So the first group was giving no additional meaning. The second group, students came and visited for 5 minutes and explained how powerful and how important the scholarship that they received was. And so the third group, hang on one second, I just lost my screen. There we go. Hang on here. Okay, the third group was, I'm sorry, the second group, so they came in and they shared for 5 minutes. The third group, they did something that's really most distressing, is that the managers came in and told them about how important it was. So first group, the first group was no additional information. The second group was the students came in and visited for 5 minutes. The third group was the managers told them about it. What was the difference in results? This is going to shock you. The first group, there was a 0% difference, right? Not shocking at all. 5 minutes, though, when they came in and said how important this is, they had increase in productivity over the subsequent months of 400%. But here's the most distressing thing, is that when the managers told them about it, there's a 0% increase. So what that means for us is that we have to make sure that our people feel and understand the impact of their work on your clients and for you as a business. And so there has to be a meaning. So if you want to attract people, how do we give them a because? Why should you work here? Why should you stay here? And so the answer, I'm not sure what keeps happening on my computer. The answer is that here's an organization that what they did was they said, we want to give you testimonials that you should work here because listen to what other employees say. This is great to work here. This is awesome to work here. And, you know, they don't believe you, but they'll certainly believe other people. So it would behoove you to put out what other people say about you. Here's a sign company, AdArt. Why join us? So they say very clearly, here's our AdArt mission. We have a national presence, we're agile and versatile, and our performance and client satisfaction. They say very clearly why you should join us. Now, if you want to know what's at the heart of a culture, it's really something quite unusual. So a company with a great culture actually provides for someone who has like an umbilical cord in their hand searching for a home. So all of your prospects and all of your employees are looking for a place to call home. And the heart of this culture is the word cult. So is a cult good or bad? And so is a cult good or bad? That's the question. Yes, is both. A bad cult means that you take away their ability to think, they're totally biased, it's just for you, the leader, and it has negative agendas. But a good cult means that I'm into it here. I'm connected with the culture. And a good culture starts with something we call your MVP, which stands for the following. You might want to take note of this. It stands for your mission, your values, and your purpose. And we're going to discuss that a little bit. So I'm going to give you a little definition for it. Actually goes backwards. I think Jim Collins did a tremendous service and disservice for the world. The tremendous service that he did is he spoke about the importance of having a mission statement. And the disservice was that many people took that mission statement and they said all sorts of crazy things. They put out 13 things. We strive to be the most profitable. We strive to be financially responsible. We strive to be the #1 quality, safety for our employees, blah, 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 blah. And people miss the boat. So I want to give you a definition that might work for you. Purpose. Our purposes, that's our why. The second thing is values. That's how we do it. Those are non-negotiable values. How we do what we do, and I'll show you this in a few minutes, what that's going to look like. And then mission, that's the mission. Let's go take that hill. Let's go take an action. So mission, values, and purpose has to have two components to it. It has to have one component that pushes people away, another component that attracts people. If you try to be everything to everybody, you'll be nothing to nobody. So what we look at here is building a culture. And your culture should say really clearly what we do and what we don't do. This is Charleston Orwig. They have something called EPIC Days. EPIC stands for Employees Participating in Community. So if you'll notice here, they do planting, and they also put food baskets for the hungry, and they also participate in food shelters and doing planting and volunteering in the community with the children. If you don't like this, you will not like working for the company. So for your culture, what do you do? What do you do that says, here's who we are, and how are we different? We spoke about the values. Now, so that's our purpose. Our purpose, and then supplied by values. So what are the values? This is what we believe. So the big mistake is aspirational versus real. So here's a company that does quality digital printers. They say, our aspiration is to be #1 based on our superior technology and our approach to the customer's individual needs. You know, that's an aspirational value, but it's not real. When you develop your values and your purpose, it needs to be based on who you actually are. Yes, you can have aspirations, but that's not where it belongs. When you do it, you want to consider the following 3 things. #1, you want to frame it. #2, name it. And #3, claim it. So you want to frame what your culture is, name your culture, and then claim it. So for example, here's Apple Signs. Apple Signs does a very good job of framing it and naming it. They call it something called the A-Team. And so the A-Team is a way that they frame it, and they could describe what the A-Team is. Here's what Kerbal Plastic does. They name it and frame it. Here's our values. #1, integrity. #2, respect. #3, learning. Now you notice here that it doesn't have a million different values. It has 3. And then what they do is each one of these values are then supported and followed through in the organization. They're explicit values. So it shows up in their culture. So in terms of the culture, how does it show up? We pride ourselves on being a learning organization, and they've embarked on a major training initiative for every employee, product and sales training. And they encourage growth and promotion from within, and they provide training opportunities to assist with both. So they're looking to help employees grow both personally and professionally, which means that they invest in it. And so much so that they'll be explicit with their values. This is their leaders saying, here are our core values. If you haven't taken the time to share them in multimedia and in writing and in conversation, you're making a big mistake. I would humbly suggest that you might consider changing your title if you're the leader to whatever it is, to CRO. What does CRO stand for? Chief Repetition Officer. It's your job to keep carrying that banner and share on a regular basis the values that you have to share. Now, here's a question for you. Most companies aren't doing this. Do you know what this is? This is a picture of a guy that gets hit in the head with the hockey puck. Do you know how long the NHL went by getting hit in the head with the hockey puck until someone finally said, this is crazy, we can't keep doing this? I'm here to tell you that sign companies can no longer just keep producing stuff and keep blaming their workforce. We have to make a shift. And when you make a shift, eventually things start to they look funny at the beginning. And then as they evolve, they start to evolve. As you start to put your mission, values, and purpose into your organization, they evolve, and they look different than they did at the very beginning. So as you embark on this, you start little by little. And then as you are a repetition officer, when do you start to make that impact? On which contact, on which touch? So here's a piece of research which is really interesting that applies to our workforce today, and also to sales, by the way, if you're responsible for sales. SMEI wanted to know what percent of the sales or the impact are made after the first contact. Only 2% is made after the first contact. What about after the second contact? Only 4% is made after the second contact. 6% of the impact is made after the third contact. 10% after the fourth contact. But watch this. This is amazing. 81% of the impact comes after the fifth contact. But most people give up by the third contact. And so, therefore, the question is, do you have stick-to-itness? 81% comes after the fifth contact. For those of you who are hearing impaired, this is what it looks like. First, second, third, fourth, fifth. Boom! You know what that looks like? Do any of you have a dog? Right? If you got a dog, you're like, lay down, boy. Lay down. Come on. Lay down, boy. They're like customers. Kind of have to keep going. Come on. Lay down, boy. Lay down. Come on. Come on. Lay down, boy. Come on. Lay down. Come on. Ah. Good dog. So sometimes you kind of have to repeat yourself. And so the holy grail of building a leader-leader team instead of a leader-follower team is all about consistent nurturing. Your goal is to build a team of leaders. If you do this, then you will have a team that's on fire, you'll be more profitable, and you'll be able to have more freedom to do what we're going to discuss a little bit later, which is called your habit, your highest and best use of your time. If you would like to learn how to find your mission, values, and purpose, and identify and build a great culture, you can simply call us at 410-235-7070 or contact us at brandlauncher.com, and I will give you a tool called MVP Launcher and Culture Launcher. So let's move on to the second piece. If the first piece is all about providing meaning, the second piece is all about providing appreciating. And I'll show you statistically what this means. There's an elephant in the room. And the elephant in the room is as follows. What percentage of the employees received praise last year? This is going to blow your mind. What percent, so I want you guys to text me now or chat with me, what percent of the employees in the sign industry and other industries last year in North America actually received praise and recognition last year? What would you say? 15%? Okay, what else? Good. 20%? Good. Anyone else? 60%? 10%? Good. The answer is 35% of the workforce actually received praise last year. That means that 65% didn't. That is crazy. How many of you agree with me that praise is good? If praise is good, then what? Well, praise may be good, but you know what? Praise is not always necessarily good. What? For example, look at this. This is what a lot of leaders do when it comes to their organization. Oh, good job, whoever you are, whatever you do. You know what the guy's like thinking? You are such a jerk. General praise actually actually hurts employee morale. Listen, generality runs off a team like water off a duck's back. You want to be specific in praise. Oh, I caught you. I caught you what? I caught you living out our values, our purpose, and our KPIs, our key performance indicators. Soon we're going to talk about how to translate the values and the purpose into key performance indicators, into things that actually drive performance. Because most sign companies, what happens is that they set up a way in which that they could drive performance, but has nothing to do with the values and the purpose of the company. And so we want to align them. So if you walk up to a guy like after he finishes doing an installation, and you're like, hey, great job. You know, he's like, you're such a jerk. You have no idea. I stayed here extra hours. I had to go through all sorts of hassles in terms of permitting. It was really difficult because the variance didn't allow for us to put in the sort of lighting that we needed, so I had to jerry-rig everything. And you tell me, good job. So what we need to do is be able to offer specific praise. And this whole thing about praise is really shocking. Why? Do you know what percent of the workforce actually quit because of a lack of appreciation and recognition? What number would you say? 10, 20, 30, 50? 79% of the workforce actually quit, but it has to be meaningful only. So that means that people are literally quitting because you don't recognize them and appreciating them. And perhaps you have the younger group working for you. And if you got Gen Y working for you, this is a group that received trophies for showing up at every baseball game or showing up at some of the games and losing every game. Recently, there was a Lego contest, and one of the schools, I believe it was in Kansas, said that's not fair. We're not going to have that here because some kids are better than others. And it's not fair that they either have more or they could do a better job, and they're going to get recognition. Those kids don't do as good of a job, they're going to feel depressed and sad. Are you kidding me? So the question now is going to be, how do we provide appreciation? This is a generation that receives stars for brushing their teeth. And if they receive stars for brushing their teeth, that means you got it up on the refrigerator door, they got something. So I'm going to suggest to you that you simply get over it. Get over it. Your team wants and needs appreciation. Now maybe you say, oh, it's touchy-feely. Look at this. A study of over 200,000 employees. And within that study, over 20,000 people told us specifically, this is done by the Jackson Organization on page 18 of a book called Leading with Carrots. And what they found was that companies that gave better appreciation and expressed gratitude and recognition for excellence. In other words, we recognize excellence in our organization and appreciate you. How much more profitable were they? 10%, 20%, 30, 40, 50, 60, 100? Watch this number. 600% more profitable than those that did not recognize excellence and give gratitude and appreciation. That is mind-blowing. So you might want to think about, how do we provide some appreciation in our organization? You know, I failed in this way oftentimes myself. And one of the things that is a way, this little picture here is done by StarTech, which is really interesting. Many companies we found that what people will do, you know, sometimes if you have an installer out on the field, if you have an installer, he can cross-sell and upsell for you with that current business and with other businesses as well. And so the idea is, what motivates them? Oftentimes what motivates them is the ability to simply break bread. And so they will, I've seen companies be willing to participate in a company barbecue, and just because if they participate in a company barbecue, that was what made all the difference in the world. So this is not about the gift cards. It's about the appreciation of the effort. So I want to offer you a gift. The 4 best ways to provide appreciation. And so in providing appreciation, there are certain things that work, things that don't work. Different people, if you'd like to know how to do that, you can simply call us at the number on the screen, or you can contact us at brandlauncher.com, and I'll send you the appreciation tool that you can use. You know, there are different languages of appreciation. Some of the most common language that everyone thinks is just about money. But above and beyond money, what can you do to provide appreciation? So I'll give you a few tips right now, which are outside the 4 that I'm going to share with you. But number 1 is help me get my job done. Some people, they're not looking for anything else. Just help me get my job done. Number 2, words of confirmation and appreciation. A fellow by the name of Gary Chapman wrote a book called The 5 Languages of Love, and he also did it with appreciation. And what we see is that some people, they value and they want your verbal feedback. Other people, they can care less. Some people really want stuff. You know what? Give me a nice bottle of scotch or a 6-pack of beer or a gift certificate for Toys R Us for my kids. That's what they really want. And other people, so some people want words. Some people want stuff. Some people want help me get my job done. Some people want the public recognition. And finally, what some people want is an experience. Spend some time with me. You know, if you appreciate me, so spend a little time with me. Let's go out and have a beer together or hang out with me, talk with me, share with me. And let's provide me an experience. Let's go golfing. Take me on a trip together. Take me to a ball game. Let's go on a road trip somewhere. So if you'd like to know how to provide that appreciation, simply contact us there. Now the problem is once you give a meaning of why we're doing what we're doing and appreciating people, so the next piece that we have to do is overcome the problem of entitlement. Many sign shops share their great frustration of how people feel entitled all the time, and they're often frustrated. So how do we overcome that? Oh, you're doing great. You're appreciating everybody, and you're giving them a meaning. Oh, great. But now I feel like, you know what, I deserve a raise. I deserve everything because you're telling me how great I am. How do we overcome that? That's the final D. So the first was meaning, the second appreciating, and the third is developing. Developing is all about what we're going to call a path of ascension. And so I want to talk about how can you develop a path of ascension. We call this UU, U University. So U University means that you need to identify how do we provide a path where there's a 101, a 201, and a 301 in your organization. There's a way to grow, and it's your job and my job as a leader to provide a vision of where we're going in the organization. And so the problem with most sign shops is how they're providing this direction and this leadership. What do you see here from a body language perspective? Who is the leader? Who is the follower? Well, it's the guy on the right. He's the leader. How is his comments being taken? Warmly or defensively? Right, defensively. And so the old way of doing this is being a cop or a coach. Which way is he being? Do you think he's being a cop or is he being a coach? He's being a cop. And if you're just catching people doing the wrong stuff all the time, that's not what it's about. The old boomer way versus the new Gen Y way, or the old way was being a cop. The new way is about being a coach. So if you want to grow your organization and really build something that's sustainable, that gives you freedom, freedom to focus on your greatest habit, your highest and best use of your time, and your team's highest and best use of your time, you might want to switch from being a negative guy to a guy that's coaching. And remember, we need to get over it. So does it actually affect retention, this coaching? 35% of your workforce is going to quit within the first year if you don't have coaching in place. So that means people want, in today's environment, people want and need coaching. Don't just be a cop. Don't tell me what I've done wrong, but coach me, guide me, support me. If you don't do that, how long are they going to stay with you? Well, it depends on who you have working for you. If you have boomers working for you, so baby boomers, 31% of them are planning on leaving you. Gen X, 55% of them are planning on leaving you. And Gen Y, 66% of them are planning on leaving you. However, if you provide coaching, then that's a game changer. You know how impactful it is when someone leaves you? you know, a 5% increase in employee loyalty can increase profitability by how much? Look, when you have a person that works for you for whether a short-term, mid-term, or long-term, and they lose, you lose a tremendous amount of leverage. You lose institutional memory. You got to start all over again. You have to train, and then that person's job, since most sign companies do not have a backup person in place, so therefore it's going to fall on all the other people, and it's going to fall on the leadership. So a 5% increase in employee loyalty can increase profits by what percent? 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100. 50%. So this according to Fred Reichold, who wrote a very important book called The Ultimate Question, which is beyond the scope of today's conversation. But he found very clearly that we want to decrease turnover. And I want to share with you a client of ours, Nick's Pizza in Chicago. Nick's Pizza was on the cover of Inc. magazine. Why? Because Nick is amazing. And so much so that what he did is he's turned into a training organization as well. Because look at some of his stats. He's the 6th most profitable restaurant as an independent pizza place per square foot in America. Do you know how many pizza places there are in America? There are 3 parts of a profitable, compelling company. Number 1 is it's profitable for the leadership. Number 2, it's wonderful for the team. And number 3, it's wonderful for the community and for the customers. So let's take a look at the first thing. We see that it is a compelling company for the owner. Next, it's compelling to the customers. They have an over 98% satisfaction rating, and their turnover is 5 times better than the industry average. Why is this relevant? This is very relevant because you want to learn from companies outside your industry. What's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing and expecting the same results. What happens in the sign industry is many times people go to the sign shows, they go to SAC, and they say, oh, you know, what are you doing? What are you doing? And it becomes incestuous, and people do the same things. Some of the greatest breakthroughs, though, come from outside the industry. And so therefore, we want to take a look at how do we learn something from this organization. Nick Sorello and Rudy Mick, Rudy was his consultant that helped turn around the company, is going to offer us some suggestions on how to build what we're going to call a freedom team. And what is a freedom team? It means that you are free to focus on your greatest habit, the highest and best use of your time, H-A-B-U-T. And each person is focused on their greatest habit. And in order to do that, we have to create a leader-leader group instead of a leader-follower group. You know that the leader who gives up control actually gains more power and influence than the one who keeps it. This is from Dave Marquette. And what gives Dave the ability to say such a thing? Dave Marquette took over the Santa Fe, which was the worst performing vessel in the United States Navy. It was a nuclear marine sub, and it was at the absolutely worst performing vessel. And he took it from worst to first, which is no short feat. And he produced the most amount of commanders than any other vessel. And one day when he started, he took over the nuclear submarine, which is designed just to attack and kill people. He said, begin auxiliary power. Aye, aye, Captain. Aye, aye, Commander. And so it went down to the next person, next person, next person. 5 minutes later, he's standing there on the bridge looking out and saying, what happened? And he said, well, it's impossible, sir. Well, then why did you listen to me? Well, sir, because you're the commander, and you have all the control, and I just did what you told me. Are you kidding me? So therefore, he realized he needed to give over control. And so the only possible way that you'll grow your company is by giving up more control. Does that make sense to you? Is it possible what I'm saying is true? Well, it is possible. But if you're like most people, they say, give up control. But if I give up control and my people don't perform, we're totally stuck. So therefore, what do? Maybe this is a suggestion. Give up control in place for competency. So you can only give up control if you increase competency. And let me share with you how you might be able to increase competency in your sign shop. Let's use Nick's Pizza as an example. So Nick's Pizza has the path of ascension going on there. They have a 101 and 201 and 301. And, you know, when you study karate, you start off as a white belt, then become a yellow belt. Eventually, you move green and move all the way up to brown, blues, and black belt, right? So in your organization, how do you create 3 different levels? In Nick's organization, they have a tan hat, a red hat, and a black hat. So when you first start out, you start out with a tan hat. And in order to proceed to getting your red hat, you actually have to qualify on several different positions, and they test you on it. And then after you get a red hat, you have to qualify in 12 positions in order to get the black hat. And I was at Nick's once, and I saw the most amazing thing. I saw a young man who was working in a kitchen. And by the way, they reframed the kitchen. They call it the heart of the house. And I'm about to show you what the heart of the house tracking growth tracker looks like. He'd been there for a couple of years, and he was maybe around 20 years old, and he had just got his black hat. And everyone's like, high fives, like, yeah, man, go ahead, woo, black hat. Let me remind you, he works in a kitchen. But he was on fire because he went through the processes of going through 101, 201, and 301, and he became something of himself. And he was excited to learn. We all want to learn. We all want to grow. And so what happens here is that in 101, everybody learns how to make a pizza. I don't care if you're a secretary. I don't care if you're a greeter, a bartender, if you are a truck driver. It doesn't matter. Everyone learns how to make a pizza. So, too, we're going to show what that looks like in the sign industry. Now, in order to progress, you need to learn how to make a salad, a sandwich. You need to know how to cut dough, how to pull it, how to check. They need to know how to put about 25 pieces of pepperoni on in 30 seconds, one thumb breadth apart, right? So you break down everything in the organization. Now, here's what you'll notice, which is so interesting about this, is that the highest level is become a trainer. You see, some will, some won't, so what? Next. Some will want to grow, some don't want to grow, so what? Next. And in your sign shop, you want to be able to say, hey, are you going to be like Lilia? So Lilia here, either she just got started or she's not so interested in progressing. And there are people like that. But some people, if you look at someone like Andrew, Andrew wants to go all the way. He's motivated. And now the more Andrews that you have in your organization, the better off you are. What does that look like in the sign world? In the sign world, we have 101, 201, and 301. What is a 101? 101 is the signage basics everybody in your organization must learn. Because if you want to have your mission, values, and purpose reflected in your organization, so you want to be able to do a great job. You want everyone in your organization to be on fire with what your purpose is and what you're all about. Now, 201, let's talk about what does 201 look like. 201 is unique job training. You know, there's been an evolution from shop floor guy, a baby boomer, to technology. And a lot of the older workforce in the sign world is not able to keep up. So if we look at what does 201 look like? Well, let's just talk about a rainmaker, a person who might be a salesperson in a sign shop. So the first thing he does, his first step is first customer contact. The second thing is he specs out the design on the building. The third thing is he prepares and sends the proposal. And in the proposal, he has to itemize everything, be inclusive, and be transparent, which includes sales tax, sign cost, installation, permit costs. Now, this is unique to one of the clients that we work with. We break down everything. There are 3 levels of quotes, by the way. The highest level, which is the highest level presentation, where you're actually going to do research. The gold level, don't email the quotes. Meet them face-to-face because they need a face-to-face thing. Don't be lazy. Silver, you can go ahead and use the template, and you can go ahead and email them. Step number 4 is the proposal at the meeting, and map out the different steps that happens here. Step number 5, you submit the work order and provide a checklist. Step number 6, you get the sales manager to sign off, including the permit and digging information. Step number 7 is getting a testimonial. Now, maybe you'll tell me, man, this is a lot of hassle. There's a lot going on here. If you will take the time to slow down, you can speed up. You see, the problem that most people have in the sign industry is that they're too darn busy. You need to slow down if you want to speed up. We need to slow down to be able to simplify, codify, and multiply. To simplify the process of running the company, codify every single step, and then multiply it out through the law of multiplication. Now start training. And so your process is all about training. ABT, always be training. And so as you train, you simplify, codify, and multiply the process. And in doing this, you'll have a team that's on fire, and it's amazing. But it doesn't just stop with everyone knowing the basics of signage. And then each single job, whether it's rainmaker, whether it's production, whether it's manager, or whether it's a person in the fabrication shop, there's also 301. You want a team that's on fire? A team that's on fire, they learn how to have powerful communications. What do you want from me? I just, I work a CNC machine. Or, I'm putting on vinyl letters. Or I'm just doing electrical installation. He needs to learn powerful communication for his own life, for his family, to be able to learn how to communicate. He needs to learn how to have conflict resolution. Yes, your team in your company, if you want to be one of the top sign companies, you'll actually teach conflict resolution. It's essential. You'll teach about how to differentiate between, for example, in conflict resolution at NICS they teach a 301. And one of the things that they teach is something called safe space. And in safe space they teach the difference, what is clean communication. So part of safe communication is, example, you came in, the person comes in late. You're such a jerk. You don't care about us at all. Okay, you're such a jerk. You don't care about us at all. So conflict resolution means that you're going to learn a new language. You'll learn about the data. The fact is that, yeah, you came in late. My opinion is that you don't care about us at all. That's now become my truth. And so I'm going to own that truth and say, you know what, I feel angry when you come in late. I feel disrespected. And what I want for you is to come in on time because it's important to us. When you do that, it's very powerful. When you teach your team conflict resolution and negotiation and learning how to manage people and learning how to self-manage, how to manage your time and your diet and public persuasion and values, the values of the organization. If you have 101, 201, and 301, your team will be on fire. Let me give you an example of a mission, values, and purpose. In Nick's Pizza, they have something called the Grandma Rule. In another organization called Bridgeport Financial, they also have something very similar to this. Now, this is a mission, and this is values. It's a value. We treat everyone like they're the grandma. Would you do that to your grandma? And so here's what Bridgeport Financial did. They said, we are going to translate our mission, values, and purpose into a KPI, a key performance indicator. So this is the last thing I'm going to share with you, is everything in the organization has to have a key performance indicator. This is how we measure the company. If it moves, measure it, says Meg Whitman from eBay. So we want to identify what are the main things that drive performance. So in a collection agency, one of the main things that drives performance is the interaction that you have with your clients. And so when it comes to KPIs, there are two types of KPIs. Most people are familiar with the second type of KPI, which stands for, which are results. But there's another type of KPI, which are the activities. The activities are what drives the performance. So what are the key activities that will drive the performance? In a sign shop, the activities are selling, new customers, profitability, showing up on time. And now how do we translate those into, which values? What are the values and how do we translate them? So in Bridgeport Financial, it said that they are about 300% higher collections average than the industry average. And so what are the activities that they measure? Sending out thank you notes. Sending out thank you notes. Really? I called you up and you owe Sears $400 and I'm sending you a thank you note because you owe them $400? Yes. So they measure the amount of thank you notes that the collector calls and the collector that calls each day sends out. And so what happens when you have a team on fire with your mission, values, and purpose? what do you think is the average ticket at a place like Nick's Pizza? What's the average size ticket? Well, the ticket's about, call it 25 bucks. So what would be the average tip? For 25 bucks, maybe call it $5. What would you tell me if one of the waitresses got a $1,000 tip? What do you think she's doing for a $1,000 tip? You're like, whoa, what did she do there? Now, what if I told you it happened a second time to another person, and it happened a third time, and it happened a fourth time, 3 times already pattern, 4 times, like, what the heck is going on there? If you'd like to find out how to do this in your own organization, I'll be happy to send you a gift called KPI Launcher and also the Path of Ascension. And you can contact us at 410-235-7070. And you can also, our contact information at brandlauncher.com. We're going to conclude with this last thing. We look at our business as though it's an asset. And the first part of the job of a sign company is to be able to sell and market, sales and marketing. This is what pulls the entire boat along. So therefore, we want to make sure that our team is on fire to be able to drive that sales and marketing. Once they make that sale, then we have what's called a freedom team, which are the people that do it, and the freedom system, which is the entire systems of running the company. Those are the KPIs that we spoke about. Those are the systems, the training, the development. And we spoke about MAD today, which stands for meaning, giving your team a meaning, values, and purpose, mission, values, and purpose. And then we spoke about the freedom team, appreciating them, and how companies that provide better appreciation got over 400% higher, were 600% more profitable. And then we talked about systems, freedom systems, where people can focus on their highest and best use of their time. And we spoke about translating those mission, values, and purpose into key performance indicators. And finally, it's about you, the leader. How do we leverage you? If we do all this well, we got a great asset. Let's talk about leveraging you. What is your highest? What is your habit, which stands for your highest and best use of your time? If you'd like to find out the highest and best use of your time and your entire team, I want to offer you something we call the Launch Pack. We have a report called the Best of the Best Business GPS. It kind of takes you from where you are to where you want to go. And it helps you attract more prospects, increase sales, achieve a work-life balance for you and your team. Also, I'd like to share with you the secrets of the watermelon. And it's an ebook that I'll be happy to send you that you'll love. Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people have read it all over the world. And I want to give you something that's a quick online assessment. And I'll send you the link for the online assessment. And you also, after you get an online assessment, you'll also get a meeting with me and or my team. And this is limited to the first groups that come in. You can, to get this free assessment and these materials, you can call us at 410-235-7070. That's 410-235-7070. Or you can email me at my personal email, which is jgoldman@brandlauncher.com. That's J for John, jgoldman@brandlauncher.com. And you can also check us out at brandlauncher.com. I want to thank you for the time that we spent together. I wish you blessings and success. And I give you a blessing what Sam Walton from Walmart said, which was ready, fire, aim. By the time that most people are ready to move, the target's moved. And so therefore, it behooves us to think about how can we strike a blow with a crooked stick instead of waiting and never striking at all. So please use the tools of meaning, appreciating, and developing. Focus on your greatest habit and to identify what is your greatest habit, your team's habit. Contact us either at my email below, or you can call us and set up a time, and we'll send you a link. And if you don't want to meet with us, that's fine. We'll give you the link and all the materials I promised you anyway. And I wish you success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John, for an excellent presentation. I know we all learned a lot today. So I just want to open it up for Q&A if there's anyone on the line that still does have any questions. So you can just type them through the question section of the GoToWebinar dashboard. And in the meantime, like John said, you can always contact him to find out answers to your questions, or you can always send us an email at info@sec-ace.ca. So I don't see any questions that are coming through at the moment. So on behalf of the Sign Association of Canada, thank you, John, and thank you everyone for attending today. And I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.